This is the Rush Discuss, where the discuss is Rush. All right, welcome back. Like we stated last week, we are starting a new bracket. I'm sure people will have mixed feelings about this, but I don't care.
Are you really starting the episode that way?
Yeah.
Are you going to edit that out?
Who knows?
Oh my gosh.
You can tell. No, but we're going to start with the least popular bracket now. Now, the reason I wanted to do this was because our goal for this podcast is to get people to listen to Rush. And this is a group of songs that every time I search for like the rankings of songs, starting with the least favorite to the most popular, these are songs that consistently get into the bottom. If you go to Rush forums at all, these are going to be songs that are typically getting mentioned of, oh, I can't believe Rush ever recorded this song. Oh, this is such a terrible song. I can't stand this song. But Julianne and I both don't understand this because all of these songs are ones we enjoy.
Yeah, it's an interesting bracket because exactly right. I appreciate and enjoy each of these songs in this bracket. And so that was something actually that blew my mind when Adam showed me Rush in the beginning. We'd be listening to an album, say it's Caress of Steel, and I'd be like, this is so awesome. And he'd be like, yeah, nobody likes this, or we don't talk about this, or most people blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, seriously? Why? It's so good. So it's funny to me that this bracket is the least popular, but at the same time, it makes sense why people would think that about these songs. But hopefully you guys will give them a second chance if you are in the camp of, yeah, these are my least favorite Rush songs.
Yeah, and I mean, the nice thing about this podcast is we aren't playing the full songs. So if there's just a song that you really cannot stand, you don't have to listen to it. We want you to go listen to it, but you don't have to. You can just hear us talk about it. So what we're going to do is we're going to focus on talking about why people might not like the song, talk about why we enjoy the song, what makes us like it, and then do the same thing that we've been doing in previous weeks, battle it out. If we had to pick one to keep, which one would it be? And for those of you who maybe don't like any of these songs, perhaps for your own brackets, you could say, if I was forced to listen to one of these songs on repeat, which one would bother me the least?
What a way to reframe it, Adam.
Okay, so this first pairing, we have Face Up from Roll the Bones and Dog Years from Test for Echo. Now, the reason this was a pairing was because going into this, Face Up was the song that I would consistently, if someone asked me, what's your least favorite Rush song, this would be at the tip of my tongue.
Dang, I love this song. Sorry, go on.
And Dog Years for Julianne.
Not as much now, but previously.
Well, yes, previously, anytime it would come on in any instance, it would be immediately skipped.
It's true. Again, not now, but before.
And get this, the reason that she said was because it mentioned dogs. That's how much she hates dogs.
Don't say that. Everyone's going to hate me. I was being dramatic.
I know.
Just didn't like. Okay, we'll talk about it later. Yeah. But don't throw me under the bus that early in the podcast.
Sending all the dog lovers after you.
Yeah.
So we're just going to play the first bit of Face Up, and then we'll get to talking about why people maybe have this at the bottom of their lists. All right. Initial thoughts?
I love this song. That's not what we're talking about.
Okay, so for me, things that I could see, things that I didn't care for at first when I first heard this, and then the more that I listened to Roll the Bones, and it would still consistently be something that I wouldn't necessarily skip it. I would still be trying to give it a chance. But it was never anything that I would choose to put on. But the things that were a turnoff to me were the kind of hokey synth hits, like the almost like piano-ish kind of hits, the ding, 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 which sound a little dated now. But that was a big turnoff for me at first. And then also it's got kind of that, I don't know, bluesy rock, like down, down, down kind of thing in the guitar, and it's got the frantic feel the whole time, and that's just not my style of music. I don't really care for the stereotypical half step down, bending up into the next note, and kind of overdone guitar type stuff. And so those were all turnoffs for me, and I don't know if that's a consistent thing with other people, but that at least seems to me a reason why it could be a song that would make it to the bottom of the list.
And certainly, I think this song, in terms of how other Rush songs are, is, I don't know if the word generic is appropriate, or repetitive for sure. Rush is known for not doing the same thing twice, but I feel like in this song, they do pretty much the same thing through the whole song. Maybe that's something that people don't enjoy about it, that it just is all the same. I was chatting with my brother, who we've mentioned in the past is a really big Rush fan, and he does not like this song at all. I was talking to him about it because I had just started listening to Roll the Bones, and I was talking to him about this song, and he's like, "Oh, I cannot stand Face Up." I was like, "Really?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's the worst. I'll get halfway through the song. I'll get to a part where I'm like, oh yeah, I like this part." But then it goes back to the chorus and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm listening to Face Up." And he just like doesn't like it at all. And so I can see where people are coming from as to why this would be in the least popular bracket. However, it's hard for me to super understand because I absolutely love this song, which I'm sure, I don't know, maybe other people do too. I don't know.
I think the more that you're in the Rush world, the more you see that there are going to be people who like any song and people who will hate those same songs. But to the point that your brother Seth makes about this song, I can totally see that, because there's that middle section where you have that kind of eerie synth. It's leading up to the solo. I mean, it's really cool lyrics there. I'll just go ahead and read them. You get all squeezed up inside, like the days were carved in stone. You get all wired up inside, and it's bad to be alone. You can go out, you can take a ride, and when you get out on your own, you get all smoothed out inside, and it's good to be alone. And so I really like that in the lyrics, where it's kind of turning that last line, good or bad to be alone. Building up to that. And that section of the song is really cool musically and really different from the rest of it.
I totally agree with you. Do we want to talk about what we enjoy about it? Or did you have?
Yeah, I think that's pretty much all the stuff I can think of that people would kind of complain about. I mean, people always complain about lyrics. We've talked about this before, but I think the lyrics are some of the best part of the song, but I really enjoy Neil's writing style.
Since I heard this song from the beginning, like I mentioned, I have always loved it. I just latched onto it ever since we were listening to Roll the Bones for the first time. I like what the driving aspect of it. I like the repetitiveness of it. I like the bounciness almost. Makes me, almost dance while I'm listening to it. And there is a single line in this song that always sticks out to me that brings me back to this song often as a Rush song that I enjoy quite a bit. I'm in a groove now, or is it a rut? Is, I think, one of the most brilliant lines of any Rush song that is very overlooked, I assume, since it is a least favorite, least popular, Rush song. I think that's extremely deep line because that's something we ask ourselves all the time. Am I in a groove, or am I just stuck in a rut? as we try to move forward and progress in life. And I think that's something to think about as making this song a contender for being one that we choose. But I understand that Adam doesn't super love this song regardless.
I mean, the more that, so in listening to it to work up to this episode, it definitely grew on me. I definitely appreciated it more. And it's also, you have to remember that this whole album, it kind of latched onto the gambling theme. So everything kind of has that aspect to it. Turn it up or turn that wild card down. Just kind of the whole thought about that there's just that wild card inside of you. You don't know kind of what's going to happen sometimes in your life as far as a response to a given situation. And so the lyrics kind of talk about yearning to be able to control yourself in those moments so that you can turn that wild card down. And this whole album is kind of focused on the darker side of life. How do we deal with those darker things? How do we make sense of this world? And so this song is kind of, I mean, it's in that same vein, and it's that constant wondering which side of things am I on. But what I do like about it is also in that intro, the bass line, the bass tone, and I do really like the solo, that middle section that I already talked about, where it shifts gears, and I do kind of like the frantic pace that kind of turned me off at first, but I think it fits the song. It kind of puts you in that same sort of frame of mind of kind of frantic, just wishing that things could just stop so you could get a handle on things and maybe be in control of yourself a little bit better. And so in that way, it just doesn't let up. There aren't any really real breaks outside of the middle section and the guitar solo.
On that end, this is an excellent song to go running to. I quite enjoy it when I go on runs. That driving aspect and thinking about life at the same time. I think this is a great song for that.
So with that, let's go ahead and dive into Dog Years. Start off with the intro here. That's not the words, but I just couldn't help myself. Definitely not the words.
So why do people brush off Dog Years? Not why I did, but why do other people?
It's a goofy song.
It's not that goofy.
Well, okay, the first line is in a dog's life, a year is really more like 7.
Okay, that's fair. I guess I'm comparing it to I Think I'm Going Bald. Because when you say it's a goofy song, I'm like, no, that's a goofy song.
Yeah. But I mean, this is a band that's been going on for decades, and then they've had some really serious stuff, and then they come out with a song like this. And so it definitely from the start, it can turn a lot of people off. Also because it's kind of like their punk grunge tribute.
That's so true. Honestly, and I'm not opposed to punk or grunge or a heavier guitar sound at all. But that was one of the reasons that I didn't super love this song was that intro. It just kind of like turned me off at first. I'm like, oh, I really don't feel like listening to this song, which is why I would always hit skip. Because I'm like, oh, I'm not in the mood for this sound. Because it is very like heavy, like right from the beginning.
And I think what makes it a little bit more awkward in that sense is it would have worked better if it was a lighter guitar tone.
I think you're right.
But in Test for Echo, Alex was really going after that heavy, heavy guitar sound.
Which is absolutely fair and understandable for that album.
And so I think it wouldn't have turned as many people off if it was another band doing it with that more punk guitar sound. It wouldn't have been as easy to just disregard it because it can seem a little bit muddy with that really deep guitar sound and the really in-your-face bass.
Also, it's such a better experience listening to this with proper headphones because when I've listened to it in different settings, such as in the car, and that heavy guitar comes up. It is extremely muddy sounding on car speakers, at least for me. And I'm like, oh, this is really unenjoyable for my ears right now. Whereas listening to it as I was preparing for this episode of which one I would choose, and just now listening to that on our studio monitors, that's so much better of an experience. And it's so much more complex and layered and isn't just like, oh, this is noise, which I appreciate that kind of music as well.
Yeah.
But I think that makes a huge difference.
Yeah, that is one of the things about Rush that you also have to take into consideration. A lot of their later stuff is so dense that it's really difficult to mix a dense arrangement in such a way that will translate over every single type of playback device.
Very true.
If you're listening to it on a phone, it's going to sound not great. If you listen to it over car speakers, it'll be okay.
I guess depending on the kind of car speakers you have.
Yeah, but
overall,
it really does best when you listen to it on the best quality headphones or speakers that you can with that stereo separation. And so this is the audio engineer in me speaking.
I was just about to say, the audio engineer is about to come out. Prepare yourselves.
It's a really difficult thing to straddle all the different ways that people are going to listen to music. And unfortunately, we live in a world now where most people are just going to listen to it on their phones. And yet nobody wants to mix to that because it's really not that rewarding. And so you just have to make do with the fact that people aren't going to appreciate your mix decisions. And especially back then, nobody was thinking that anybody would be able to play this on their phones because that's just your landline. But
what's a landline? I'm just kidding. I am just kidding.
There are a lot of mixed decisions that are made that make sense on the good quality monitoring systems. And things are done throughout the process that will put them on bad speakers and people will listen to the mixes in the car, see what they can fix and stuff. But the optimal way to listen to these songs, just any song in general, is a good pair of headphones, preferably cans that cover your ears, or good set of stereo speakers that are set up properly so you can get the right spread. That's all nerdy stuff, but I would highly recommend you give that a shot on some of these songs that you might not like, because you will hear things that you've missed.
Well, exactly. Like, I think it's a fair part of this conversation because, like I just said, I didn't like Dog Ears until I spent time listening to it on proper equipment to hear the deeper things, and it helped a lot.
And I think that is probably another big reason why this is a turnoff to people. It's such a dense song for being a lighthearted pop.
It's
punk
an interesting choice, isn't it?
Kind of thing.
An interesting arrangement choice for something that is like kind of a light, silly thing, is it's just like Dog Ears starts.
Yeah, it's definitely an acquired taste.
I know, it's just so, honestly, it's so comical now that you're saying that it's, this heavy beginning, and it's like, in a dog's life. Wait, what? What are we listening to?
Yeah.
It's so surprising. If this was going to be a piece of classical music, it'd be a Scared So, I think, because it's just funny.
Yeah. And then you get the middle section, which I think is another big turnoff for people with the I'd rather be a tortoise from Galapagos or a span of geological time. There's no way around it. It's a goofy line. The fact that they repeat it over and over, and it just kind of, to me, that's probably the most downer part of the song, which, I mean, I get it because it's kind of mirroring the lyrics, and that you're just kind of wishing for life to just be extended on. But like a lot of things in Test for Echo, I think they stretched things out a little bit.
I think that it is a really good song, but I do agree that I wish it wasn't as long as it was. Not that I don't enjoy what I'm listening to, but I feel like I get like more than halfway through and I'm like, oh yeah, there's still this part. Oh, it's still not over. I don't know if that's good or bad, but I just noticed that every time I listen to the song.
Yeah, like in the Dog Ears, oh.
Yeah.
That just kind of
for
go
a
on.
while.
Okay, now to bring it to the things that I really like about this song. Getty's voice in this song is so good.
exactly. Like when I was saying, when in a dog's life, and the second that comes up, you're just like, oh, that is so different than what I was expecting from that intro. And it's almost like pleasing to hear.
This vocal performance is probably one of my all-time favorite vocal performances by Geddy. He's just so precise. He's got some incredible
Ornamentation. I don't know.
yeah,
if that's the word.
that's what I was looking for actually.
Great.
Got incredible ornamentation and like
His vocal control in that ornamentation.
yeah, so like in the opening part in A Dog's Life a Year is really more like 7. There's some little slides and then like grace notes that he's going down to, and it's just so controlled and impressive, and he just pulls you in because he's already like right up there at the top of his register. And anytime you have a singer who's right there at the top of their register, it pulls you in because those kind of notes are make or break. You have to be able to nail it. And even if you aren't a musician, there's a part of you that knows that you're seeing an artist being vulnerable. And I think that's what makes that vocal line so great.
I think this is true for the entire album too. His voice is very pleasing and illustrates the quality and the traits that you just described on almost every track of this album as well. And so that is something I also appreciate about this song. It's like satisfying to hear him sing it, even though it's so goofy. And you're just like, what is this about? But you're right. It's really nice to listen to in that way. And it's fun to sing along to because I almost feel a little bit in like the best possible way. I feel like that goofiness level while I'm singing it, but in like a fun way, not in like a I feel dumb way.
Yeah. And that's the great thing about great music. And I think why it's important that we don't make everything serious all the time. Because great music that's fun to sing along to will help you relax out of the rigors of the day, and it'll break down your barriers and just help you to just be a little bit more free.
Well, that's what I love about Face Up, though. Exactly what you're saying is I just like get into it and I'm goofy and I'm dancing and I'm like, face up, face up. I just like get into it, and that's exactly why I love that song for that reason, to go back to Face Up for just a moment. But, in a way, this pairing was made because of us both disliking these songs for different reasons. But in the end, actually, it's quite an interesting pairing that they both kind of have that element of goofiness, but also satisfying vocalness. That's not a term.
Well, and then also with their lyrics, they both have these one-liners that just stop and make you think.
Right, exactly.
Like the one that you brought up about I'm in a groove now, or is it a rut? And it can really make you pause and think, oh, how many times in my life have I thought that same thing? Mm-hmm. Am I, good at life now? Am I just like hitting these things? Or is it just that I've gotten into a bad habit of just doing the same things without thinking about it? Have I just checked out?
What's a line in Dog Years for you that's one-liner?
There are quite a few in there for me, but one of my favorites is in the dog days, people look too serious. It's a pun, and I just love it. Because in the dog days, people look too serious, like TOO, like they're too serious about things, but the lyric is people look too Sirius, the star constellation, they look up to Sirius. And so
I did not know that.
Just that subtle play on words is so funny to me, but encapsulates that message, because the dog days, like the dog days of summer, is just a crappy time. I mean, I think that's what the whole message is about. Like, lighten up. Life sucks sometimes, but you have to just lighten up and not let it rule your life. Don't look too serious.
So this is making this decision even harder now that we've been discussing both of these side by side and these similarities between them, to the point where I honestly don't know what my decision is.
I also like the line, "It's the season of the itch. Dog years, with every scratch it reappears. Dog years for every sad son of a bitch." Because we're talking about dogs.
You brought that line up when we first listened, you were like, this is hilarious. I remember that now.
And just that play on words too, just of, oh yeah, that poor son of a bitch in
That's a
that
dog.
context, but then also like because dogs are literally
Yes. Yes,
just to
I remember
beat
you
that dead horse of,
Yes.
of the pun.
I feel like it's like they were trying to go as far as possible. So then maybe that's why it just keeps going on, because they're like, let's just really go full send ridiculous with this.
I think it's just a fun song, and it is a groove. It is something that I imagine is really fun to play and probably really fun to sing. I think they just went after it, and
Yeah. It's definitely helped me appreciate and understand the song in a whole new way now that I've been able to talk about it, but then also listen to it more for this podcast. And so I appreciate that. So thank you, Adam.
yeah.
I hope that maybe helps some of you guys as well be able to like see that a little bit differently in a deeper way for both of these songs that I still don't know what my decision / our decision will be.
Yeah. I mean, they're just two completely different feels. Like the Face Up, like I said, Face Up kind of gives you a little bit of anxiety when you listen to it because it just doesn't back down.
I don't have that experience, but it's interesting that you do because I am the anxious one and you are never anxious. So I didn't realize that it causes you that. I just feel like grooving and like, yeah, when I listen to it.
Yeah. I don't know why it does, but
It's just so interesting because I'm always like, aren't you anxious about XYZ? And you're like, no. And I'm like, I'm
you
always
mean
anxious.
YYZ?
Oh my gosh. This is being married to a rush pan, everyone. Well, also you love puns. Well, that
That's
wasn't
true.
a pun, but well, okay. Anyway. Was it a pun? No, it was just.
Or is it a rut?
Oh my gosh. Okay, Adam, what do you choose?
This was always going to be dog ears for me.
Oh, you didn't even have a choice?
I had a choice and it was dog ears. But no, it wasn't. Face
I don't know
Up.
why I said you
I
just
still-
didn't have a choice. I don't know.
I will say I do appreciate Face Up a lot more. Now I don't know what I would say for what's my least favorite song.
Yay.
Yeah, I
That's
do.
a
I
win
do
for
enjoy
me.
it now. It clicked more for me, and I get it. But man, Getty's voice in Dog Years just is light years ahead of Face Up. And Getty's vocal performance in Dog Years, that is the clear cincher for me. That's what, I don't know what cincher is supposed to mean, but that's what clinches the win for Dog Years, in my opinion.
See, this is tough because I really like Face Up, but then having a new appreciation of Dog Years, I feel like I also want to choose Dog Years, but I really want to choose Face Up. So I don't know where to go from here because I really want to choose Face Up.
Okay, so bring it back to what, because we can't have ties.
I know.
And currently we're sitting at a tie.
Yes.
So we have to.
Because I'm facing up and I'm not backing down from my decision, Adam.
Now we have to convince one another of why, moving forward, why the Rush discussion needs to stay on whatever song.
Because of that line, I'm in a groove now or is it a rut? That one line should make you want to choose Face Up.
See, but for me, I get the same sort of message from Dog Years.
But it's like such a good song.
True.
I had nothing to say. That was my whole argument. It's such a good song.
And I will give it to you that Face Up, I feel like does have more of a journey that it goes on.
Yeah, that middle section is
It
something to
takes you out of
consider.
the anxiety for a little bit and then
I don't
puts you
get
back
anxiety,
in. Just the relentless pace of the song.
but I don't feel anxious. I feel like fired up, like I want to go face the world. Like it makes me feel fired up and like taking on things and just like there's still time to turn this game around, turn it up. You know, it's just like, yeah, let's do this.
And turn it up.
Oh my gosh. Whereas, like, yes, Getty's vocals in Dog Years are so incredible, especially in the well, I guess it would be the choruses, the dog years, just the way he like falls into that note each time he sings the phrase, or yeah, the phrase dog years is awesome.
Okay, and then also the rest of the band is doing everything that they should be doing and backing up those vocals with that surge in, with that guitar doo, doo, doo,
Ensemble
kind of stuff.
does have to
And
be
then-
put into account.
And then the lyrics, Face Up has a few of those one-liners that just kind of zing you, but I feel like most of Dog Years are those zingers. Like you get, man, I just love the conclusion that it brings it to. I just have to read because it's just so good. In a dog's brain, a constant buzz of low-level static. One sniff at the hydrant and the answer is automatic. It seems to me, as we make our own few circles round the block, we've lost our senses for the higher level static of talk. And I love that, yet again, play on words of senses. We've lost our senses. We've gone crazy for this higher level static of talk. Or we've also gotten out of touch with the rest of our bodily senses in favor of this one thing.
That's true. It is deeper than I ever even thought, because I haven't dove into these lyrics really at all, because I only just barely got into the musical side of this song and appreciating it from that end, that I've never dove into these lyrics before. And so I think that I have to put that into consideration as well, that it may... I think that yes, as much as I love Face Up, I do really love Face Up. This is a difficult decision, because if I only had to choose one and I could only listen to one, right? I would choose Face Up, but I feel like Dog Years is the stronger choice for all of these different reasons that we were speaking of. Because yeah, Face Up is awesome, but then the complexity of it is a lot less than Dog Years. Which I guess, I don't know, am I going off of complexity? What do you think?
I mean, I think, because obviously every choice is subjective
Right.
with this.
Which is why you should all choose yours.
Yeah.
Never have to agree with us.
But I think in the comparison of these two, I think complexity in the lyrics,
And musically, though.
yeah, and music, I think it is a factor because that's something that we both appreciate.
Right. I think that's what's interesting about these discussions, as it is coming from two musicians that think about different things, like musical things that
Yeah.
influence our decisions.
Because there are some times where complexity factors in the opposite direction. Because sometimes we
Yeah.
don't want as much complexity, but with these two songs where complex lyrics and complex musical ideas are both kind of what makes them interesting, at least to me, that's why Dog Years edges out Face Up, because they're both playing the complexity game. The more complex one has to win, in my opinion. But there are
makes
definitely
sense.
other songs where they're a little bit more pared back and less complexity is what they're playing at. But I think in this pairing, that's what wins out in the end for me, is the fact that there are so many nuggets and word plays and everything in Dog Years. And there are definitely plenty in Face Up, but I think Dog Years just has it's just a constant barrage of that. But I also know that you are staunchly in the Face Up camp.
It is making this really difficult,
So
because we are both very much passionate about our choices.
which I knew this would happen because both of us, I mean, this was complete polar opposites. It's just so funny that the one song that we both dislike is one that the other person really enjoys.
Well, then what do we do at this point?
I am still willing to consider Face Up. As of right now, Dog Years is my choice, but you can still convince me. I guess I just want to hear like what fires you up the most about Face Up. What are other lyrics that you really feel drive it home? What elements of the music do you think keep it edged out for you?
I love like I mentioned, the driving aspect of it and just how it's like bouncy in the chorus. Face up, when you can only back down, or you can only back down. And just like, it makes you just want to like bop as you sing along to that chorus. And then, especially when it goes into the chorus and turn it up, like it's just so fun.
That is a really good moment.
And also, that middle section that you already read is so deep, and I appreciate that middle section so much that I don't know if I could not have it. And then it goes back to turn it up. I just think it's fun. I think it's just a really fun, enjoyable to listen to, like pump you up song that can seem a little silly and light, but then has these nuggets and makes me just dance every time I listen to it.
It's interesting that both of these songs are ones that we dance to.
I just don't know because I chose mine, but we're disagreeing. This is the first time we've really disagreed, though.
Yeah, which is, I mean, like I said, I deliberately picked this to make this decision so difficult for us.
I think it's clear, though, that neither of us are willing to budge.
I guess for me, I enjoy the place where Test for Echo is musically more than the place where Roll the Bones is musically.
Which is what I was going to bring up, is that I love where Roll the Bones is musically. I could listen to that album beginning to finish over and over and over. And I love where that is musically. So I think that's also a difference in our opinions is because of that. Because I enjoy Test for Echo as well. But I also really like Roll the Bones. But they're different.
They are night and day different.
Right, like they can't really compare that. Well, part of me also is considering choosing Dog Ears, not just so this discussion can end, but because I feel proud of myself for giving the song a chance and being willing to see it more than just this heavy guitar opening that I'm just like, what is this? To really appreciating the song and singing along to it and enjoying it and seeing how it is funny and silly. And so maybe the choice is Dog Ears because then I'm able to appreciate something that I didn't appreciate before. Because it is a really good song.
Yeah, I think, I don't know if it'll take longer, like maybe more years of listening in general that would make me go closer to Face Up. I feel like while I did increase my enjoyment of it, I feel like it's still kind of at a distance. Like it still hasn't completely clicked with me.
That's so surprising. Just only because it clicked immediately with me. And so I understand though, because going back to the most popular bracket, how long Red Barchetta took to click for me. Whereas you're like, are you kidding? This song is amazing. And so it's kind of this version of that for you.
And I'm sure at some point that'll happen. But like I said, this already improved my appreciation for it so much more in listening to these two side by side.
I think for the sake of this discussion, we will choose Dog Ears. As much as I never thought I would say that. I think as much as it pains me to say, I have to remember that this does not mean that Face Up will now sporadically disappear from the universe. I can still listen to it after this discussion is over. But that for the purposes of this podcast, I think that Dog Ears wins out.
And even though I do agree, I will say that it wasn't a cut and dry decision for me because I did have a lot of things to think about with Face Up. And it is almost like a bittersweet conclusion because I do appreciate Face Up so much more now.
That's how I feel too.
I was considering just going with Face Up to make the conversation stop. But then I had to be like, no, that's not what this is about. And I really did feel that Dog Ears edged Face Up out. But it is bittersweet because you put in all that time with the song that you didn't enjoy before, and now you do enjoy it. And even though you don't enjoy it as much as the other one, you still do have a connection with it.
Right. Yeah, this one is really difficult. I honestly did not realize how difficult this bracket would be, because I thought that the most popular would be so difficult, which it was at some points, but this is like way harder doing the least popular bracket. So way to go, Adam.
I have a feeling that the conversations are going to be a little bit longer because we will be diving a little bit deeper into these lyrics, into these musical ideas, and helping you guys understand what's going on musically and lyrically so that you can get a better appreciation. And hopefully this isn't boring for you. Hopefully it's giving you a fire inside to go back and re-listen to these songs, because these are really great songs. These are really great thoughts that you need to be putting into your mind. And I look forward to our next discussion.
Yeah, our next pairing in the least popular bracket is I Think I'm Going Bald versus Red Lenses.
So ponder on that until we meet again next week for the Rush Discussion.